Hello, welcome to MJRRPG, a podcast for TTRPG reviews, replays, and other such stuff. Following is a review, or rather, reviews, for Type 40's Seeds of Terror series. While I'm still writing full reviews and replays for each scenario, this will contain a short overview of the series itself and then spoiler-free mini-reviews for each scenario. You can find links to the scenarios and bundles in the show notes, as well as links to my reviews and replays when available. The Seeds of Terror series bills itself as short, minimal prep scenarios tailored to players of any experience level, especially beginners. They most certainly fit this description. Nearly all can be easily completed within 3 hours, if not under 2 hours, though as fitting a seed, most can be expanded by a creative keeper or enterprising players. The series is also admirably varied. I ran them all back to back over a little under half a year, and no two felt quite the same. A common pacing and game feel run to the series, with most of them being location-restricted, ticking clock one-shots, and all reliant on their pre-gen investigators with little way to play them as part of a running campaign. I take this as a massive positive, though. They are very much meant to function as a single session able to be plopped into an impromptu game session with little preparation. While all are well-suited to inexperienced players, they could be difficult for a completely new keeper. Unlike the Gateway to Terror scenarios, there is little keeper guidance. The scenario text is kept to a minimum, all well under 10 pages. They expect the keeper to know how to play the game and be comfortable improvising and adjusting situations to fit their groups. And while overall well-polished and no doubt well play-tested, there are a few scenarios that would run into speed bumps if run completely as written. None are difficult to alter though, and most of them can be easily run after a single read-through. I enjoyed all of the seeds and would happily rerun any of them, and already have returned to a few of my favorites. They are great to keep in your pocket in case a gaming opportunity opens up, and the simpler of them can be run by memory alone if needed. Seeds of Terror is a great series, and one I would love to have a bound collection in print form someday, and a dream version with cover art for each scenario. Following are short reviews and recommendations, in ascending order to my favorite of the bunch. I do recommend all of them though, and the order is entirely down to my own enjoyment of them, and I very much enjoyed all of them. I am slowly writing full reviews and replays for each of them, and when available you can find the links below. Number 12, The Plague of the Pharaohs. The most traditional of any of the seeds, being a literal straight-shot dungeon crawl. On its face it appears extremely similar to Gateways to Terror's The Necropolis, both of which take place in an Egyptian tomb. In practice, they do share elements beyond just the setting, but The Plague of the Pharaohs has enough special bits to make it stand out. It's a very investigation-heavy scenario, though there is one of my absolute favorite threats popping up in it. Also, a neat tie-in to another seed, putting a pretty bow tie on the series end. Quite simple compared to other seeds, it best fits dungeon crawler newcomers to Call of Cthulhu, or as a palate cleanser after playing through other, more esoteric seeds. It can be bought individually or in the Mummies and Madness 3-pack with the Mummy of Pemberly Grange and Flute of the Gods. Number 11, Tickets Please. Airship. Pulpy, action-packed adventure in the skies with a touch of weird science. The pre-gen investigator cast is varied and colorful, connecting with the setting in ways that allow some creative role-playing. Like the first 3 seeds, Mummy of Pemberly Grange, Endless Light, and One Less Grave, Tickets Please as a single location, albeit a larger flying location, with a ticking clock, but with more solutions. While full of plentiful opportunities for horror and fast-paced excitement, if run straight as written, it risks turning into a bit of an excessive dice-rolling fest, and possibly even a combat slog. It is a great scenario for pulpy excitement in the skies, well-suited to players wanting investigation, social interaction, and action, but with some extra work for the keeper compared to some of the other seeds. It can be bought individually or in the Airships Lighthouse Speakeasy 3-pack, with Endless Light and Fish in a Barrel. Number 10, Hand of Glory. An Emmy Award-winning dark fairy tale-like clever blend of something straight from Grimm and with a familiar mythos threat. On paper, it reads very straightforward and in some ways less involved than most Call of Cthulhu scenarios, including its peer seeds, but it also shines as being something very different. Players are given plenty of opportunities for role-playing, character development, and inter-party arguments over how to proceed. More than any other seed, Hand of Glory best suits a group entirely unfamiliar with pen and paper RPGs, much less Call of Cthulhu, being very light on rule keeping and leaning heavily on a familiar fairy tale trope, made weird by mythos spookiness. It can be bought individually or in the English Insanities 3-pack, with One Less Grave and Scream of the Mandrake. Number 9, Mummy of Pemberly Grange. The most compact of the lot, with a single mansion location, limited characters, and one problem front and center. It could be run in a tight hour if need be, or given room to breathe with an extra 30 minutes or an hour. The threat comes hard and fast, and while the solution may read as simple, pretty fun. With the tension ratcheted up and tools for the keeper to keep pressing on the players, it's harder to solve than it looks. It's perfect for new players, and easy to run with little to no prep after a first run, and easy to rerun on the spot. It can be bought individually or in the Mummies and Madness 3-pack, with Flute of the Gods and the Plague of the Pharaohs. Number 8. Scream of the Mandrake. One of the few seeds focused largely on social interaction, with the majority of the scenario taking place at a soiree. The cast of NPCs is fun, and combined with fleshed out pre-gen investigators, players should find no problems getting into character or doing some fun role-playing. The ticking clock element is subdued compared to other seeds, but the payoff is among the best in its weirdness. Definitely a threat no other Call of Cthulhu scenario uses, much less could come up with. A nice change of pace compared to other seeds, with an emphasis on social interaction, and is so well suited to players that prefer talking over searching or fighting. Also, pineapples. It can be bought individually, or in the English Insanities 3-pack with One Less Grave and Hand of Glory. Number 7. Children of Chalk. A refreshing and well-utilized setting, taking place entirely at the Chichen Itza complex in Yucatan, Mexico, and just a few years after the revolution. There's also more investigation and over a larger area than many other seed scenarios, giving the first half of the scenario a pretty classic Call of Cthulhu feel, but it feels fresh thanks to the new backdrop rather than good old 1920s New England. A wonderful finale tops everything off, and while I don't want to give too much away here, it's a rare way to split a party. An overall very well-rounded scenario in an exciting place and time with a classic Call of Cthulhu feel, making it especially well-suited to experienced Call of Cthulhu groups looking for a quick game that feels both new and familiar. It can be bought individually or in the Idle Pursuits 3-pack with Crushed and A Stone's Throw from Atlantis. Number 6. Crushed. One of the few seeds with a large play area, this time set across the real-world town of Rockport, Massachusetts. It's also quite different from how other seeds work, in how it uses its ticking clock and mythos thread in relation to the players and NPCs. It's also something of a mini sandbox and ripe for expansion if a group wants a longer playtime. Without giving anything away, I can say it has a wonderfully weird interpretation of a folklore creature that pairs nicely with the Cthulhu mythos as well. A scenario that feels bigger than its tight word count suggests, offering players freedom across a town in crisis, and fits well with a group that is somewhat familiar with Call of Cthulhu or with other seeds. It can be bought individually or in the Idle Pursuits 3-pack with Children of Chalk and A Stone's Throw from Atlantis. Number 5. Flute of the Gods. The most experimental of the seeds, and by far the most roleplay intensive. It also requires the most buy-in from the players. If they come into the scenario wanting to solve it like any other Call of Cthulhu mystery, rather than play as their characters would, the scenario will not work. But if they do play along, it becomes one of the most memorable of the lot. There's admittedly not as much actual gameplay, with little investigation to be done, but as a short exercise in role-playing, it's a very unique experience. Another scenario that could fit groups with absolutely no experience with role-playing games, and so come in with no preconceptions, or conversely, experienced players that love acting in character above all else. It can be bought individually, or in the Mummies and Madness 3-pack with the Mummy of Pemberly Grange and the Plague of the Pharaohs. Number 4. One Less Grave. A wonderfully bizarre, yet simple little scenario. One well-rendered location with maps and ample room for extra set dressing, a clear and present, and decidedly weird and rarely used danger looming over the group, and a straightforward solution delivered in a unique way, with a built-in moral dilemma sure to stir up some fun discussion among the players. If played in a rigidly by-the-books, grid-locked battle map sort of fashion, it can grind on, but run loose and fast as befits most Seeds of Terror, it is a smooth, rising tension into a frantic race to the end. I'm also a big fan of this group of pre-gen characters. Fun folk. Groups looking for more in-depth investigation and social interaction with NPCs may want to look elsewhere, but for a quick and weird survival horror scenario perfect for an impromptu Halloween session, One Less Grave is among the best. It can be purchased individually or in the English Insanities 3-pack with the Scream of the Mandrake and Hand of Glory. Number 3. A Stone's Throw from Atlantis. Rare scenario set in Spain with a very unique twist on the common ritual trope in Call of Cthulhu. I've run this one more than any other seed, and I absolutely love watching the moment when players realize what is going on, and that happens multiple times in this scenario. Like other seeds, it's very well paced, with an eerie beginning ramping up into a breakneck race to solve the puzzle before a ticking clock blows up in the party's face. But there's also a sense of wonder as things progress, and the scope massively expands. It could be my favorite seed, but the solution to the puzzle is oddly obtuse. Some small tweaking makes it perfectly serviceable, but it is an oddity. A wild and intensely memorable scenario, perfect for any group, with a great take on a well-trodden trope, but in a new setting and with a one-of-a-kind progression. It is available individually or in the Idle Pursuits 3-pack, with Crushed and Children of Chalk. Number 2, Fish in a Barrel. One of the finest scenarios in the series. Multiple locations and a great use of the 20s time period. Speakeasy and gangsters. Plenty of investigation and social interaction, great pacing with spikes of terror and lulls for investigation and planning, ramping into a frantic finale, an intriguing twist on a mythos threat through the ticking clock. The pre-gen investigators are also among the most fleshed out of the seeds, allowing any player easy opportunity to get in character. The final scene may require a bit of planning from the keeper to ensure it flows smoothly without getting bogged down in combat rules, but it's nothing too difficult and is a great scene in any case. A fantastic vertical slice of everything good about Call of Cthulhu in a tight package, well recommended for any player group, whether experienced Call of Cthulhu investigators, TTRPG players coming from other systems, or entirely fresh-faced non-gamers. It is available individually or in the Airships, Lighthouse, Speakeasy 3-pack with Endless Light and Tickets Please. Number 1, Endless Light. An excellent one-location scenario that manages to feel much bigger than its setting and word count would suggest. It has a very neat take on some mythos threats that players might have seen before, but not in this way. The atmosphere of the island and smooth rise in tension until reaching breakneck speed up until the conclusion makes for an extremely cinematic scenario. There are plenty of tools for the keeper to push the players out of any bad habits they may have, ensuring the game doesn't turn into a dungeon crawl. Unless that's what everyone wants. An absolute banger of a scenario, great for any and all experience levels, and easy to run with little prep, and could be rerun without the text if need be. It can be purchased individually or in the Airships Lighthouse Speakeasy 3-pack with Tickets Please and Fish in a Barrel. As far as the bundles go, I'll recommend them in the following order, and for the following reasons. Number 1, Airships, Lighthouse, Speakeasy. Endless Light and Fish in a Barrel are my two favorite scenarios of the whole bunch, the former being a near-perfect single-location ticking clock bottle episode, and the latter cramming everything great about a classic 1920s New England Call of Cthulhu scenario into an exciting bite-sized package. And Tickets Please just rounds them out with a very nice variety of settings. Number 2, Idle Pursuits. Besides forming a sort of mini-campaign without shared characters, but with a shared object, the scenarios themselves are some of the more unique among the seeds, with Children of Chalk and Crushed being the largest in scope, and A Stone's Throw from Atlantis being something wholly different from the rest. Number 3, English Insanities. The most varied of the bundles, with One Less Grave, Hand of Glory, and Scream of the Mandrake being completely different kinds of scenarios, with the only through line being how fondly weird they all are. One Less Grave is a frantic survival horror, Hand of Glory a sort of moral lesson fairy tale, and Scream of the Mandrake being social investigation and pineapples. Number 4, Mummies and Madness. Not at all a bad bundle, and indeed those looking for two straightforward, easy-to-run scenarios will find that in Mummy of Pemberly Grange and the Plague of the Pharaohs, with both being great for both new keepers and new players, and forming a neat little two-parter. Flute of the Gods is entirely different, but a lovely bonus. Again, I heartily recommend any and all of the Seeds of Terror scenarios. If you have the time and cash, this is one of the best ways to load up on convention-ready or impromptu gaming session one-shots. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and do take a look at any of Type 40's seeds, or really any of their work in general. See show notes for their website as well. And as always, thank you to CryoChamber for use of their album Cthulhu. See links in the show notes. Next week will be something special, coinciding with the release of my first Call of Cthulhu scenario on the Miskatonic repository. I hope you tune in then. Until next time, have a good one.